Welcome to Work the Left Side. I'm beyond hyper hyped. I'm hyper jacked to announce tonight's guest. He is the Jakked Stakked Daddy, current Wrestling in Newcastle champion, the one, the only Shreddy. Sir, are you good?
Shreddy's always good. Shreddy's always ready. Been looking forward to this. Let's get to it.
Yes, dude. So obviously, I sort of said before I hit record, you know, manners, want to say thank you. Thanks for coming on. We wanted to speak to you for a long time. I know a certain Mr. Ryan Palmer has been bugging me and being like, you need to talk to Shreddy. You need to talk to Shreddy. Shreddy's awesome. Anytime I talk to Ryan, he's always like, mate, you need to talk to Shreddy.
I was saying, I'd done this with you before. I thought we had done one of these before a few years ago, but it turns out we haven't.
Parallel universe somewhere, man. Maybe previous contacts, it happened somewhere.
Maybe
parallel universe, multiverse. We've had this conversation, but first time for us on this earth. But yeah, so shout out to my boy Ryan Palmer. He'll be happy we're finally talking. But yeah, obviously I mentioned wrestling in Newcastle. I'm just going to get straight to the point because I was talking about the show last night with my boy Mick, and we are off to Newcastle on Saturday to come and watch it.
Nice.
So, obviously, I know it was meant to be Ian Skinner originally, and it would have been fun to kind of see you throwing him around everywhere, pressing him all over the shop. But instead, you've got Mr. Kenny Williams. That's good, man. That's going to be a banging match. Not putting any pressure on.
But couldn't stand the heat, so he had to fuck off out of the kitchen, didn't he?
He's gone off into Liverpool or something somewhere.
He cut the promo on me, challenged me to cook him. I cooked him, couldn't stand the heat, so he's out of the kitchen. And he's got another show on the way. So now I was looking forward to working Ian. I've known Ian for a number of years. I'm pretty sure we've never worked each other, not even like in a multi-man or anything like that, but known him for years and years. So was looking forward to having that match. But Win has managed to find like a more than suitable replacement, Kenny Williams. So Kenny Williams is one of those guys who, again, I've known for years. I've been in the ICW Square Go with him. The year that he won it, I was involved in that match. Never got to work Kenny though, so really looking forward to being able to work someone of like Kenny's level experience. So yeah, on Saturday I'm looking forward to that.
That's it as well, and it's the wrestling 101 of what I would call a David versus Goliath kind of match. Speed versus strength. It's just so many possibilities what you can do. That match.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it unravels on Saturday.
Dude. But obviously, like I said, our first taste of wrestling in Newcastle was in Middlesbrough. Obviously, you declared yourself, you're the hometown boy. You got the first match from that show against Kemper. Mate, that must have been nice just to kind of come out and open Wynn's first away day as well. And
I'll give you some context as to why I taught on that show, because I was meant to be in the main event, but a couple of years ago, my girlfriend had booked tickets for Peter Kay for me, her, and her dad. As I think it was a Christmas present for him. Anyway, Peter Kay had to postpone or cancel the original date. The postponed date fell the same day as the away days show. So I was wrestling in Middlesbrough for Win, and then it was literally straight like backstage, quick change, and straight in the car to get to Liverpool, which is like 2.5 hours from Middlesbrough. So we got there kind of, I think we got in our seats like 5 minutes before the show was scheduled to start. So we were cutting it fine, but we managed to kind of make the best out of a bad situation. I love opening shows. When I first started working shows back in 2017 for North, debuted at Rise, and then the following week at North, I went through a string of just like either segments or opening shows. I love it. Like, I like being first. You can get the anxiety over and done with, get your match out of the way and done with. You don't have to spend 2-3 hours worrying or 2 or 3 hours kind of stressing. You can just get your match over and done with. So no, it was good though. I enjoyed being able to have the first match in Teesside for Win.
Like I said, it worked perfectly as well. With like saying, it being in Borough. I was going to ask because obviously before I speak to people, I do a little bit of research. I don't do a lot. I kind of just prefer to sit down and just chat. But On Cage Match, obviously Cage Match is kind of my go-to for information. And I looked like, on the first page, first entry, like 2017. And yeah, you had like North and Rise as the first two companies on there. And I was like, like, there must be missing pages.
No, was so I started training in 2016, like September, October time, 2016. And then I was working shows for both North Rise, and I think North was my debut. I was like security at North. It was like, when you go to, like, now they're called the yellow shirts at North. Well, back then we didn't have yellow shirts. It was just like me and Lou were just like security. But the plan was like we were security with the intention of being like, this is going to be the gimmick of our like way onto the show. So I think the very first show that I did was we were putting them. It was Danny O'Doherty against Session with Martina, if I remember rightly. I think this was the first time I did anything on the show, and it was a beer can or a crate on a pole match or something daft like that. So we had to put the pole up on the ring, and we were like security. But I was, by that point, I'd been training for a couple of months, and then we did. I think that led into something, and then another spot and another spot. So I was on shows for both North and Rise as like a character for months and months and months before actually wrestling. And the reason I was a character is because, like, without sounding arrogant, I came into wrestling with a physique. I have a bodybuilding background. So I think promoters just saw like, all right, you look like a wrestler, get on the show. But I wasn't ready to wrestle. So I could also, so I did YouTube videos back then. And Rory Coyle was training with Rampage, which is where like I started training. He came across my YouTube videos. Someone was like, oh, this guy like can talk. That kind of got the ball rolling. And that led to like the Shreddy character debuting in wrestling way before I was actually ready to be on shows, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the actual first match I had was a tag match at Rise, and the following week was a tag match at North. But you got to think like North now is like, it's grown from 2017, 2016 when it started. It's like a much bigger show now than it was then. So my debut there, like I was at the early days of North, not the very first show, but early doors. So yeah, those are the first shows that I did. There's no pages missing. That was the first kind of two matches I had, Rise and then North.
That's crazy. And just a thought, you mentioned him there, obviously Lou Nixon, England's hardest men. Dude, I just saw that and that automatically scared me. I was just like, the thought of you two as a team, I was like, that's genuinely terrifying.
I don't know how long you've been following like British independent wrestling, but I found after lockdown, there's so many people. So when I was doing stuff at North after lockdown, there was like a new fan base. I think a lot of fans just kind of, didn't return after lockdown. A lot of new fans came in. So the amount of times over the years, like people have said about they couldn't imagine me as a babyface, or they would love to see what I would be like as a babyface. It's like literally go back and watch the North shows before lockdown, and like that's all I did. I wasn't a heel anywhere before then, and it wasn't really till like kind of lockdown, or was it just after or just before lockdown? I turned heel at North, and then started having a bit more variety of the character and stuff. But yeah, I think it's just a case of like fans. Obviously, this is like we're talking 9-8 years ago now. Yeah. So there's a lot of new fans that come in that obviously haven't gone back and watched that stuff.
Well, I'll say I've been around long enough to remember where Dara Diablo had long flowing hair.
Right, okay. So I met Dara when he was bald, so yeah.
Yeah, Dara had hair and Haskins was a chav. So I've been around for a while. But yeah, so I was going to say, that's incredible then to start off with those. Because two of the biggest promotions, in the country right now. That's where that makes all the sense in the world. Like you sort of say, if you're walking through the doors looking like you look like you belong in there. At least I've got the common sense to be like, right, we'll get you out, we'll get you in front of people's eyes so they can get to see you, and then just build it up. So when you do make that first in-ring appearance, or you hit that move, the fans are going to be ready for it.
Well, yeah, like I was an established character by that point, so I'd already had like the reps of performing in front of a crowd, so the nerves of being in front of it wasn't like I went from a training school environment to being comfortable doing matches, so then in front of a live audience, and that throws you off. I was used to the live audience anyway from doing shows for months prior, and then so the transition to actually wrestling on the shows wasn't too difficult.
Well, like you said, though, you got into it looking like, with a bodybuilding background. I would presume you're used to were you doing the competitions at that point as well, kind of thing? Or was it?
Yeah. Yes, I did my very first bodybuilding contest in like 2013. I think I was 22 at the time when I did my very first bodybuilding show. So I did a couple of years of bodybuilding, like competitive bodybuilding, and then I started wrestling training. And then over the years, I've kind of done the two together. But I got into the gym initially because I wanted to look like a wrestler. And then I kind of just fell into the bodybuilding. The more you get into the gym and you start learning or reading about how to build muscle, how to diet, blah, 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 you end up, like, I fell into that kind of bodybuilding hole, went down the rabbit hole of bodybuilding. I say this before I started wrestling training. I started training properly in 2016, but I did have a couple of sessions when I was a teenager, and then a couple of sessions when I was like, I was in uni at the time still. So I'll have been 2021 maybe. And the training school just didn't last, and they kind of soured me a little bit on like the training school environment wasn't really, it was good, and then the coaches left, and it just became a bunch of lads messing about in a ring, and it just really soured me on kind of wrestling. And I didn't know of anywhere else. I couldn't find places on Google. I didn't drive at the time or anything like that. So yeah, ended up just continuing obviously with the weightlifting, got into competitive bodybuilding, and then eventually started wrestling training in 2016.
So that's that thing. But so you was used to having that audience. You was used to having eyes on you. Stepping out in front of a large group of people. So
yeah,
I would kind of imagine that being one of the most daunting things when you first get into it. If you don't have that experience, it's like,
well, outside of like wrestling and gym life, I think a lot of people in wrestling just assume, Shreddy's in shape, he's a personal trainer, but I'm not. In my shoot life, like I have a lecturing background as well, so public speaking is something that I've done for over 10 years. So I do have like a kind of level of comfort when it comes to, I don't want to say performing, because lecturing isn't performing, but you're talking, you're public speaking, you're in front of a crowd, you're in front of an audience. Then from the bodybuilding aspect as well, there's like hundreds of people in an audience kind of watching you go through your pose and your routines and stuff like that. So a little bit of performance background, but I think just having that public speaking kind of background as well helped out, being in front of an audience. I think it all helps out. There's so many things I think from like shoot life in real life that transfers into the performance aspect of wrestling. I dare say it's the same if you're in any form of entertainment. There'll be things you can take from your real life that do help prepare you for, the performance aspect of things.
Yeah. I say it's just, obviously you're still going to get nerves, you're still going to be excited. You're going to have that, like you sort of said, anxiety before your match, stepping out of the curtain.
That's
a little bit easier.
Every time I wrestle, there's always that level of like, I think anxiety probably is the right word for it. Just before you go out, because I don't know why. I think everyone I speak to seems to get it, but there's that little bit of anxiety before you got. Then your music hits, and before you start with the crowd, you're still, and then boom, you step out, and it's like, right, I'm Shreddy now, kind of thing, and it just comes down a little bit.
I think somebody sort of summed it up by saying if you didn't feel that, then walk away. Because that's the excitement. It's like say it's the anxiety. It's just everything coming together.
I think it's like excitement. It's anxiety of knowing that you're going out to perform. You want to do well. It's just the anxiousness of like anticipating the crowd, how they're going to react, how the match is going to go. It's a combination of everything.
It's caring.
Like nervousness kind of thing, yeah. But then, like I say, normally once you step out, I could be step behind the curtain, and you've got that feeling, and you step out, and it's like it just completely kind of relaxes because you kind of settle into the character. Or even sometimes before you go out the curtain, the music hits and you start getting into character or whatever, and then you kind of, the anxiety goes and you kind of get ready to perform.
That's awesome. I've heard it like something. It's just there's no high like it. When you're in front of the crowd, when you're doing what you're doing, the adrenaline. It's understandable. Like people find it hard to walk away sometimes. It's just like there's nothing else like it on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's. I think I did a YouTube video years ago, kind of on about like chasing the WWE dream, and it's addictive in the sense of like, I don't think I'm addicted to that crowd reaction. I could. It is a good feeling, but it's not like I'm desperate for that crowd reaction. It's not like my life feels incomplete without that. But it's addictive for me, wrestling. It's in the sense of like, this is the only thing that I really wanted to do since I was like a little kid, and the feeling you do get when you do perform, there is nothing else like it, really. And it's the money in British wrestling is like no one, or very few people. There'll be some people, but there's not many people who are making a full-time, livable wage from the money that's available in British wrestling. So we don't do it for the money. We do it like, for me, it's like my goal is this. So like at this level, you do it as like stepping stones to get to where you want to be. But you've got to enjoy this aspect to get to there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because if you're not enjoying it, then you're not gonna. It's gonna
get. If you don't enjoy wrestling, you're not going to stick around because the financial reward isn't there. The time sink in the time, the effort that you have to put into wrestling for what you get out of it, and the lack of direction. Like if you're working like a normal shoot job, there's normally like in a career, there's normally pretty like clear progression of get some qualifications, get some experience, get a promotion, then go and get this qualification, now go and get a promotion here, work for a bigger company. There's like a logical, natural kind of flow or step to be like of progression. Wrestling, you can just be doing the same thing for 5 years, feel like you make no progress, then get a message, and that will just set like a spring of things off. You could be doing it for 10 years and be at the same level and just nothing works, and then something might happen. So it's hard to like kind of, when there's no clear direction or path, it sometimes is hard to progress and feel like you're getting to where you want to be. So if you don't enjoy it at this level, you're just going to be miserable all the time. And that's been me sometimes. Like I struggle. It's not until some of my mates in wrestling kind of like put in context of you've done X, Y, and Z, or you've done this show, you've done that, you've been here, you've been there. And because the things I've done and my dream, it's like, oh, well, I've not accomplished anything in wrestling. And sometimes you need people to kind of spell out like what you've done to realize, that was pretty cool, that was good. And it's something I'm trying to get better at over the years, of actually like appreciating and enjoying what you're doing rather than just focus on what you don't have or where you're not.
Yeah. I mean, there's various examples that I was going to probably bring up throughout, during this conversation. I mean, one of them would be, the for me anyway. Again, I can only speak from this side of the curtain. It's not an opinion, but for me, like when I'm looking through the matches you've had, like for North, for example, you against Scotty Too Hotty, you was in a tag match against Paul London this year, kind of thing. They're bringing these names over, and it's a case of like, right, who do we trust to go against them? It's like Shreddy. Shreddy will deliver, and they will make North look good. You will make North look good, and leave a great impression on these names that may get casual views onto the product.
It's mad. Like the Scotty Twatty thing was bizarre. The Paul London thing was bizarre because those are guys that I grew up watching. Like, I never grew out of wrestling. I've got a lot of mates, so we watched it in primary school, then you go to secondary school and they don't watch it anymore. I watched it all the way through. I watched it through college. I watched it through uni. I watched it until I started training myself. I watch it now. So, like, it's hard to enjoy as much as I used to now as a fan. I don't know if that's because I'm getting older or if it's because I'm also involved in the business. So it's like, I find it hard to have fandom or to idolize wrestlers now who I didn't as a kid, if that makes sense. But I also feel the same about like other forms of entertainment. Like as a 35-year-old man, I really like Bron Breakker, but the way I look at Bron Breakker compared to Scott Steiner, like I grew up watching Scott Steiner, almost like admiring him. Bron Breakker, amazing wrestler, amazing athlete. Like for me, he'll be like the next face of the company. But it's like I appreciate and respect what he does, but I'm not like, I don't idolize him. Like he's younger than me. We're involved in the same profession. He's doing it at a lot higher level than me. I respect his ability, but I just don't have that same level of fandom, if that makes sense. It's the same for a lot of guys. Like when Cena was doing his retirement tour, I can mark out for Cena. I went to WrestleMania a few years ago when The Rock was wrestling because I'd never seen The Rock live. So I can still be a fan, but more from the nostalgic side of things and for people who I grew up watching. Whereas, like, thinking of people, now I say Bron Breakker, I really like Rhea Ripley. I think she's absolutely mint. But again, it's like, I'm not a mark for her or a mark for Bron Breakker. Whereas, like, I'm a mark for The Rock. I'm a mark for Cena. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the people that got you into it, the people that kind of got that love boiled up kind of thing, got you sort of invested.
It's the same with other aspects of life, though, like not just wrestling. Because so I'm doing a PhD currently in nostalgic marketing and a concept known as sense making. So I can, in other fields as well, like I can go back and watch all that was like you've seen the stuff behind me, Pokemon, Power Rangers, all things that I grew up watching. I can enjoy old episodes. Yeah, see all your stuff there. I can enjoy all the old stuff from when I was a kid, but like put new Pokemon cards in front of me or a new episode of Pokemon, it's like I don't care. I just do not care about it. Whereas stuff like that I'm nostalgic for, yes, I'm still a fan of that. So I think that's just me as a person and my personality. It's like I can enjoy stuff more from the nostalgic side of things and be a fan of that. Whereas now it's harder for me to be a fan of like a lot of things that I grew up watching as a kid, if that makes sense.
I don't think it's just you. I mean, I'm going to sidebar a little bit. I'm going to, talking about the whole nostalgia thing is it's a known commodity for me. A Star Wars fan, when The Force Awakens came out, that was just basically a new hope with a little bit of shine on it kind of thing. That tapped into your nostalgia. There's little bits in there that planted the seeds that made you think about the first film. So you kind of got that association and love for it. But it's because it reminded you of New Hope a little bit. Or, again, comic book fan, X-Men 97 cartoon they did last year. The fact that they put 97 into the title triggers you to automatically remember when watching that cartoon when I was a kid. When it first came out in
Star
97.
Wars is like my favorite franchise ever. Like it's probably what I'm like the biggest fan of, the biggest mark of is like Star Wars for me. And when Force Awakens came out, I was like legit excited for it. And I watched Force Awakens and I loved it. I thought like, yeah, this is going to be a mint, like another trilogy. Then The Last Jedi came out and it completely like ruined Star Wars for me. Just I didn't enjoy it. It completely killed my excitement for Star Wars. And then Rise of the Skywalker like was what it was. So like I look back and then I'm like, the new trilogy was shit because not because like, it was better when I was a kid. It was because Force Awakens was mint, and then they just dropped the ball with episode 8, and then obviously episode 9 was kind of they had to salvage it. On the flip side of that, so where that kind of killed me excitement for Star Wars, Mando, the series, loved it. Every episode, like that was absolutely mint. But even then, they'll be using those elements of nostalgia in series 2 with all the guests and the cameos and things like that. Obviously, bringing Luke Skywalker back, like that's the most I've marked out for any non-wrestling product ever. I remember watching that on a Wednesday morning, seeing Luke Skywalker come in his X-wing. It was mint. But the X-Men cartoon you mentioned as well. So X-Men and Spider-Man were like my two big cartoons when I was a kid. So again, X-Men 97, it's that nostalgia because it was just literally a continuation of that series. It wasn't a reboot. It wasn't like a fresh set. I think it was just a new series of a show that ended like 19, 20 years ago or whatever, more than that, 30 years ago. So yeah, those are things that like nostalgia is massive. It's one of the reasons I was looking into it for my PhD and went down that route because it plays a big part in my life. Both from wrestling, all entertainment, like forms of entertainment for me. I am like a very big fan of nostalgia and a nostalgic person.
Member berries. But yeah, dude, that's a whole conversation I would love to have and just kind of dig into. But we'll pull it back to the wrestling because I'm certain people will be watching this to talk about wrestling. But mate, that has triggered me now. I'm just going to be sat here thinking about so much different nostalgic kind of things. But
you can see stuff on my wall. Then I'm looking at like another display case here of just like there's Power Rangers stuff all over, the Star Wars stuff there. I've got like Street Fighter stuff. Metal Gear Solid, PlayStation games, Pokemon cards, it's all stuff. The things I'm fans of now, obviously there's other franchises that like, as you're an adult you become a fan of, but a lot of the things I'm still a fan of are things from my childhood.
Dude, exactly the same. But again, it's no coincidence that these things keep getting rebooted.
It sells. It's such an easy like nostalgia. It's such like it's that instant dopamine hit. So Nintendo, Pokemon, Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, whoever knows, like Pokemon are the worst for but also the best. Like just little Mario thing like that just evokes so much memories. Like anytime Pokemon does a rehash of anything Gen 1, it's just a license to print money because you've got people my age, millennials, who that was just such a good time in our life. So and because of how popular Pokemon was, they know how big of a fan base they've got for that there. There's no secret, like every time they do a trading card setback focuses back on Gen 1 or Kanto or like a game based around that. it's like the best selling stuff because it's just like a little, I don't know, like not a life hack, but it's just a little like money grab for them.
Yeah, it just taps into the happy vein, doesn't it? It's like, I've got the Nintendo Switch, and I pay for like the monthly thing, and I've got access to like the N64 games, the SNES games. Oh, dude, like GoldenEye popped up on the N64 thing last year. I ain't marked out for gaming in a long time, then, but GoldenEye popped up.
So when I was a kid, like literally from being a little kid, one of my earliest memories, not just of gaming, but one of my earliest memories of like living was playing Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo at home. It was my brother's console, playing Street Fighter 2. It's probably that's the first game I ever remember playing. I have vivid memories of playing Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo, Mortal Kombat on this. I just have so many memories from being a little kid. So I grew up as a kid, as a teenager, into my early 20s. Like games was like my biggest hobby. Then when I was a teenager, I started going to the gym, and it was like, okay, go to the gym, play games, watch wrestling. Those were the things like I really enjoyed doing. And now I don't have as much time to play games just because I've got such a busy, like I prioritize other things over playing games. But over Christmas, I always make time to play some games because again, it just makes me get a bit of downtime from shoot work and stuff. Get a bit more downtime to be able to play games and enjoy that. The amount of backlog in games that I have that I would want to play, but then I so many times I just end up replaying. Like so, Shenmue is a big one that like on the Dreamcast. That's a big game that I'll play over and over again. Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic 1 or 2. That's a game that I'll just go back to and play like over and over. Pokemon, whether it's Pokemon Fire Red Leaf Green, whether it's Heart Gold Soul Silver, like I'll just play a lot of these games over and over rather than work my way through playing like the backlog that I've got. And it's just you have that level of comfort with this, like it's the level of comfort, isn't it?
Oh, dude, that's just mental. Right, I need to in my head now. I'm talking right. Rampage Brown, if anybody's going to get me back onto talking wrestling, we're going to talk about the GOAT, my personal favorite of all time. He's down on cage matches being, it says you're trained by Rampage. Again, but I know you played a hand in the journey.
No, definitely. Well, Rampage Brown is he is undoubtedly like, if I had to just say one person trained me, it was Rampage Brown. Over the years, there's been multiple people. I used to train with Matty Jones a lot in the early days. I used to train with John Moss quite a bit before he went over to the Performance Center. But yeah, in terms of like a long-standing week in, week out coach, Rampage Brown is like who I would credit for training me.
I love Rampage. Sorry, man. He's the one that just. I've been around that long. I've just. And that's another reason I got into Win was I knew Rampage was there. And I was just, I saw you there, Nathan Cruz. And it was like during the Grand Slam, not last year, like year before, when you had like Rampage versus Nathan Cruz and everything like that going on, and then yours and Brady's story starting and all that kind of stuff. It was just. But yeah, again, it's just I need to pull myself back into the wrestling, and the one person I was like, Rampage Brown.
Rampage can do it.
But that again, just your matches with him at Win, just made again. I don't know how often you faced each other, but they were special matches for me to watch as a fan. There's just something very cool about
I think everyone. So Win has done a really good job of taking Rampage's trainees and putting the trainees in with Rampage so they can work them on a show, but they do it in a way where it's not just like, oh, Rampage Brown has coached this guy, let him wrestle. He's also coached this guy. It's like we've all got our characters. Like I think I'm at the point at Win where it's like I wouldn't be introduced as, oh, Shreddy is a trainee. It's like Shreddy's a wrestler. Mark Mathers is a wrestler. Zio Knox is a wrestler. Henry Faust is a wrestler. These are all guys who are all coached by Rampage Brown, but they've all got their own character or persona, and they do it in a way where it's like, okay, it just makes sense for this guy to wrestle Rampage Brown because of the stories and that they've got going on. And yes, we can allude to it, like on comms might put it over, I might put it over in a promo like Rampage taught me, but it's not like, oh, I'm a new trainee, I'm wrestling my coach. It's like, I'm a wrestler because you taught me how to wrestle. I've then been around the world wrestling, and I've got to this level. I'm now wrestling you, the man who kind of taught me what I know. So it's really good to like, obviously I train with Rampage almost every week. I'm not booked on a Sunday. I'm at his training over the years every week, training with him. But working in a training setting, in a warehouse or in a gym, is very different to working on a show in front of a live audience in an actual match. and win, not just for me, but for all of the trainees that go to Rampage training, has done a very good job of being able to allow us to experience work and Rampage kind of in a live set. I've worked Rampage a number of times over the years at various places, but Win is like one of those places that's done like a real good job with it, not just for me, but for the other guys from the Northeast as well.
It just makes sense. Like I said, it's just storylines. It's never felt, as a fan, I've never felt like, it's teacher versus student. It's been wrestler versus wrestler. Like I said, it's just equal footing. It's worked. Obviously, a lot of people watching this will be True Grit fans. And obviously, we got the pleasure of seeing you for a few shows back in 24, 25, late 24. When you was 24, when Sash financially backed you and Vuzic to
and he ran out of money and he couldn't bring me back anymore.
That's Sash. He bought too many sofas. But there's that for me. I was at the Rumble. I've clipped it or pop up on here because I wanted to edit it in. It's just you throwing Crash Boat around, during that Rumble. You had Jack Bandicoot up. You was Exploder suplexing, Jake. It was just like, mate, that was just awesome.
I enjoyed my time with True Grit. It's a shame that I don't get down there anymore. I've known JC, obviously, who runs it for years and years. When I started training, he was training at Grapple. I wrestled him when he was Boris. Did I ever wrestle him as JC, or did I only ever wrestle him as Boris?
I think it's only Boris from what I saw, but it might have been like on a non-distance.
No, I've known JC for pretty much the entirety of my wrestling career, so it was nice to be able to. I've worked with him over the years on shows and wrestled against him. I've worked for him at True Grit. And the True Grit show is really good. Like the church venue they've got, one of the best venues I've ever performed in front of. And they're doing some really good things. It's a show that I'd like to get back on. I've not made that, I've not made that a secret to JC. It's just obviously shows sometimes have to do rotations, and some guys with the core guys, and then there's only so many slots. I know how competitive British wrestling is and how many guys there is, and there's only so many slots for people. But yeah, I'm sure eventually I'll be back down there.
Well, we're putting it out into the universe. That's what I like to do here. I just like to randomly mention things, get it out to the universe, and it'll be like, yeah, there we go, fingers crossed. But yeah, as a True Grit fan, we would love to see you back as well. So it is a mutual appreciation. But I was sort of saying, I've been trying to sort this conversation out for a while. You've been a busy man. You was over in Japan. You did like an amazing tour. I try to sort of follow it on the socials. Mate, you look like you had an absolute blast while you was over in Japan last year.
It was class, yeah. It was actually 2 years ago now, so it was 2024 when I was there. I was meant to go back in 25, but I had some other commitments come up, which meant I had to, I don't want to say cancel the tour, but postpone it, which I'm now going there in March this year, so I'll be there in, 2 months' time, a month's time or whatever. But no, Japan was mint, like, even take away the wrestling, it's somewhere I've always wanted to go since I was a kid, so being able to go and experience Japan. I was there for 10 weeks in total. So I was there like not just as a tourist or like a little holiday. I was there living in Japan, like the day-to-day life. I was able to tour with Big Japan to so many places you would never go to as a tourist. So you got to see just like the everyday life of Japan. You got to see both sides of like the touristy stuff, the holiday aspect, the everyday life of things. I got to experience the wrestling. I got to experience all the things like the fandom side of things, going to Akihabara, looking at all the retro games, going to the arcades, going to Osaka, going to Universal, Mario Land, just all the things I wanted to do that trip. I'd have been to Japan on a holiday regardless, but wrestling allowed me to go there for so long. I was able to wrestle in Japan, have a tour of Japan, wrestled Daisuke Sekimoto, which was like I don't want to say a dream match, because like I remember seeing, I think it was like Colt Cabana or someone mentioned, I saw like years ago, when someone says a dream match and they just name an opponent they can have a match with, like that's not a dream. A dream match should be something that you can only dream of it happening. But in terms of like a opponent in Japan, like the one I really wanted to have, it was Sekimoto in a singles match, and I was able to get that on the tour there. So really good experience.
Dude. So, mate, just the years of kind of like 24, 25, it's all kind of, I'm losing track of time. But yeah, also it was 24 because it wasn't 4 or 5 months ago, was it? It's been longer than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned, obviously, I marked out there where again, I mentioned my son earlier. He's a massive Nintendo fanboy geek kind of thing. That was his Mario Lego that I held up before.
Yeah.
And we watched videos of the Super Mario World in Tokyo on YouTube. He watches, people just go around talking about things and everything like that when they were there. So I was gonna, do a little cheeky sidebar and be like, please tell me you went to Universal Studios and you got to walk around.
It's in Osaka, actually, not Tokyo. So Osaka is like a 2.5-hour bullet train ride from Tokyo. But it's in Universal Studios there, and I was aware of it. But Alice watches like a lot of vloggers and travel vloggers and things like that on YouTube. So she went through a period of watching and just, I would see it as like background noise. Like I've seen so much of like Nintendo World, and it's somewhere that obviously I wanted to go. So when we were over there, we got a chance to, and the best way I can describe it, it's like stepping into the Mushroom Kingdom from Mario 64. It's like what you see in that game. It's such a faithful recreation of that. It's bizarre. Like when you're there, I think I put a photo video on with no filters, it's just a raw video on my phone on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And people thought I'd put like filters over it because of like it just didn't look real, but it is. It's bizarre. Like it's mental. It was class. When we went though, it was like summer. In Japanese, summer is minging. Like it is so hot, it's disgusting. So we were like so knackered that day. We got to experience all Nintendo Land, but like Universal, we kind of didn't get to enjoy that fully because it was just too hot. We were too tired. But the Nintendo stuff, we did that in the morning, and we got to do it literally everything in Nintendo. Well, we got to do everything. So yeah, it was class. I think they've opened one now in, I don't know if it's California.
Yeah, it's
the American parks. I don't know which one.
It's not as good though. I've watched videos of both, and the Japan one's got extra things on it. It's got like Donkey Kong World and stuff there as well. Yeah. So it's all like, that's the goal. At some point, I told my son, like, if we ever win the lottery, mate, we'll go. We'll buy everything. We'll go for a week in the hotel. Every week he's like, have we won the lottery? No, mate, sorry, not yet. So, I'm like, trust me, I want to go as much as you do. So I just say, you're going back in March, and what you going stateside? Are you going to America and then Japan?
Yes, America pretty much all of February, and then over to Japan for end of February all the way through March, and then I get back home just in time for the next Win show, the March show. Home for a couple of weeks, and then back out to Vegas for Mania week. So a couple of busy months in terms of like travel for wrestling. Over the next few months, quite a busy period.
Earlier when you sort of said that you wasn't sure about accomplishing anything, or maybe feeling like you're treading water or something like that.
Yeah.
Not many people get to do what you get to do, that dude. So
you are. I mean, like sometimes I've just got to put it into perspective. Like, I think sometimes not that I take it for granted, but it takes like maybe he's talking about or thinking about it to actually realize I'm doing some pretty cool stuff.
Just a little bit, mate. Just a little bit. But obviously you mentioned Mania weekend. I was going through the thing. I could see that you was part of the Clusterfuck Rumble, as I believe GCW called it. Mate, that was just the best name for a Rumble ever, as far as I'm concerned.
Just ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous.
What was you over there with? I know Tim was over there as well. Tim Strange. There's a few of you that went over, I presume.
Yes, I mean, I know Tim was doing a few deathmatch shows, and we both were on a Rise show, and then I did the GCW, like the big like Clusterfuck Rumble, show. So that was a cool experience. I got to be in the ring with Warlord. So, was again just daft, like just mental. I wrestled Warlord. So that was a really that was thinking back on it now, that was a really cool experience.
Just tick the boxes, man. Tick the boxes. Yeah. Another thing, I mean, we're talking about these, we're talking Scotty Too High, we're talking Warlord, we're talking, Paul London. But, the greatest, again, I mentioned True Grit, for any True Grit fan, the greatest name you can mention is, obviously, he goes under the name of Miles' dad at Rise. But, I mean, you, Shreddy, and Shreddy's son got to go against Miles' dad and Miles. So you against Ring Commander Nash. It's not a match I ever thought I wanted to see or needed to see, but now I need to see it again.
I've wrestled Nash a couple of times, I think, at Rise over the years, and tag matches and in the Rumbles and stuff like that. I've done
I want.
I've done quite a bit with him over the years, actually.
But I just want that one-on-one encounter. I just want to be able to sort of
get a booked. Tell the booker man to get a booked.
Yeah. Again, just put it out there, man. Universe stars will align, and if I win the lottery, we'll go to Nintendo Land and I will sponsor Shreddy versus Nash True Grit.
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be amazing. But yeah, again, Rise is one of those promotions that just seems like you've been there since day one-ish kind of thing. You've been there from the start with North, with Win. Looking through, you think another name I didn't even realize. Like, there's so many promotions out there. Obviously, I try to know about everything that I can know about these. It's impossible. Again, looking just I think a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, you had a match against Marshall Warner, and obviously, we know Marshall here. I've had him on the show before. I know him, seen him, training at Pursuit and stuff. And again, that was a match that kind of got my eye. And I was a bit like for Zero Limits Wrestling.
Oh, that was in December, yeah.
Yeah, Shreddy versus Marshall Warner. And I was just like, no offense to Marshall, but he's about 90 pounds piss wet through. And I just couldn't imagine visually. I was like, whoa, that's interesting.
Yeah, that was, it wasn't something that I was overly familiar with beforehand. But yeah, I worked that match in December. And it went pretty much as you would expect that match to go. Pretty much.
But no, again, we talked about British wrestling, but we've got this the young guys coming through now. Marshall's one of the guys for me that's kind of like I would expect, to be in a lot of places down the road kind of thing. He's kind of got this thing about him. He's got the aerial ability, the wrestling ability. He's got that heel factor. He's just got a face you want to punch. So you put him in the face, you put him in a match, fans are going to boo him. Again, no offense to Marshall, we love Marshall, but he knows this. But yeah, he's just talking there, like when you first got started, it's just not the lack of schools, but probably the lack of very good schools. Whereas it seems like
it took me a long time to find a school. I was 26 before I was able to find somewhere to train, and luckily for me, I suppose it was like with Rampage Brown, who most people regard as like the best coach, one of the best wrestlers to ever come out of Britain, and the best coach in England. So that was like good, but actually finding that school in the first place was like hard. And I think now with social media, it's probably a bit easier to find. Like, companies can push themselves a little bit more, promote themselves a bit easier. Whereas going back when I started wrestling, when I was a kid, a teenager wanting to get into wrestling, Googling wrestling schools there was one in Middlesbrough, and then outside of that, like, I just couldn't find them. And then now you've got probably too many wrestling schools, if anything. There's some places or some people set up as coaches that probably should not be coaching, but then you've got a lot of reputable schools as well, all over the country. So, like, you're not really too far, no matter where you are. No one's too far to travel from like a reputable place. I think that's, again, wrestling over the years has got more popular, and with social media and things like that, the scene is busier. So even like the scene is busier, and it's easier for companies and training schools to promote themselves through socials and things like that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mentioned Pursuit there. Obviously, you got Rampage, you got the scenes in Newcastle. I hope you don't mind me sort of saying, but you said to me that you're off to Future Shock tomorrow. Again, that's another amazing school. I've spoken to numerous people from Future Shock. Teddy Ray on a couple of weeks ago, Tony Wright, Prince Pele, all those
places like all over. I think what's good as well about training at different places, there's a few things you get. Obviously, the insights and the learnings from different people, different wrestlers, and different styles of wrestling. Like Rampage Brown was in developmental, being coached by like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Dusty Rhodes. I'm trying to think of who else who else coached him. But he's been like coached by some of like the absolute best wrestlers ever, like in the world. So it's like he has spent quality time learning from those, then he like is able to then pass that same kind of knowledge and that experience on. So you got something like that from a Rampage. Then you go down to, I'll use somewhere I've been like a handful of times, Rev Pro, Tottenham School, Shah Samuels, again, someone who's been around the scene for so long. He's done guest coaching spots over at the PC. So he's got like a very different, I don't even know if it's a very different mindset, but like he's got different experience and different like maybe his takes on things and what Rampage would. Joe Connors is someone else again of like all these guys I mentioned have worked for WWE, they've worked at Development or NXT UK. So it's like these guys have been where I want to be, and they've been coached by some of the best in the business ever. They're able to then pass that knowledge down. You then look at like other places. So it's like Liam Slater has been coached by some of these guys. He's then passing that knowledge down to, you know, the guys at PPW. So yeah, there's like the benefits of that is like there's so many good schools now with guys that have accomplished so much, but then also from like a networking aspect of getting to meet more people. Only train at Rampages, you only see in like the same, you know, core group of guys. But then me heading down to PPW or heading down to Future Shock. Last week I headed down to Hustle down in London. You're getting exposed to like people who maybe work shows regularly, but I've never seen them before because they're in a different part of the country. So it's just, again, you're getting to meet more people, you're getting to work more people. Potentially that can lead on to more shows, more bookings and things like that for you. So it's good to get about. It's just hard. Like, I started, like I say, wrestling when I was 26. I had a mortgage free at the moment. I'm mortgage free. I got my mortgage paid off. But when I started wrestling, I didn't live at home with my mum and dad's. I had a mortgage, I had responsibilities, bills, job. But I was making time for wrestling. But you can only make so much time. And now the position I'm in my life, it's like I'm able to dedicate a bit more time to wrestling. So that's why I'm, you know, trying to get around more places. Like every week this year. Well, no, we're only into January, but I've been training 2-3 times a week at different schools. So it's just, if it's important, if you'll make time, but there's only so much time you can make depending on what your circumstances, you know, are outside of life. If you were 25-year-old, 30-year-old, 35-year-old, and you've got a wife or a girlfriend, you've got kids, naturally you're not going to have as much time as a 16, 17, 18-year-old who was living at home still. But you have to just make enough. You have to kind of fit it in your schedule and do what you can in your lifestyle to kind of get yourself to these places if you want to progress.
Yeah. I've heard it so many times. I've spoken to like hundreds of people at this point, and the one word that keeps coming back up, the magic word, is networking.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what you're on about.
Yeah, but it's a big important. It's not necessarily in wrestling. And this is the same at all levels. It's not how good you are. It's more a case of who you know. I think in some instances, like there's probably, it's very subjective, isn't it? But like there'll be people who are like hardcore internet wrestling fans, be like, this person's the best wrestler in the world. This person, there'll be some indie guy who was on every single Ring of Honor that never had a stuff at WWE, and it's like, well, why not? And it's because they'll think, oh, well, he was the best wrestler ever, or this or that, whatever. But maybe it's just a case of like they weren't network with the right people, they went in with the right people. There's obviously other things as well, like the look for getting to WWE is a big part of it, charisma, and et cetera, et cetera. But like at the level that I'm at in kind of British wrestling, there's so many guys that I know who work like all-star shows or first class or like the camp style shows, some of the best wrestlers in the country, but no one knows them. Because so there's a guy called Mickey Long that I know, one of arguably my favorite guy to work in wrestling because I've worked him so many times. And I would put, if you remember Screwface Ahmed, I would put Screwface in the same category as well. Guys who work the all-star shows, the Butland style shows, where they don't have that internet buzz, they don't get seen online, but they're working 100+ shows a year. They're working in front of like 1,000+ crowds at some of these shows. But your typical indie wrestling fan, your typical Brit Wrest fan who follows like a North, the True Grit, a Win, or whatever, they don't know these people exist because it's just like it's bizarre. But you've got some of these people who are like the best wrestlers in the country who they don't like. Like I say, your typical indie fan never heard of them.
Well, I had the pleasure of talking to the Trailblazers last week, Chris Decker and Tommy Freeman.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, you know, they on that scene kind of thing. Obviously, Nathan Angel, guy, got to sort of see Butlins a couple of years ago with my dude. Obviously, you know, kind of following him on socials now. And it's kind of like, it's just, these guys that do the reps, they do the boot camps. Basically, that's what it is, a wrestling boot camp, I'm told. and they've just got everything on point because they've done it so many times.
They get the reps in, like, yeah. I mean, I've been like, I kind of have my foot in both. Like, I do runs with like an all-star or a first class. I've done like bits of Mega Slam in the past. I've done Butlins in the past when NGW had that. And then I've got me foot in like some of the indie shows as well, like, you know, North, Rise, Win, True Grit, just the ones we've spoken about today. So I kind of do a little bit of both. Whereas you've got other people who only do one, they only do the other. But yeah, there's guys out there, like I say, Mickey Longers for me is like the best example of that, where he is, for me, one of the probably the best workers in the UK. And he could debut at True Grit tomorrow. No one would know him.
Yeah.
But he's one of the best wrestlers in the country.
Crazy. And I think the Trailblazers shouted out Mickey as well. I think, I've heard his name a few times now from speaking to people. And it's just like, like I say, it's that social media kind of, because those companies don't need to have an online presence. They don't need to push
that's so you got, again, like, I've worked for shows. I'm not saying this like in a way to bury anyone. It's more just like me coming from a business background. Like, you've got some shows that don't appeal to your indie wrestling fan. They don't have like a strong online presence, but they're pulling in 1,000 fans, mums, dads, kids, adults, you know, a mixture. Then you've got like an indie show bringing in imports and driving people from London all the way up to the northeast or vice versa, and they're pulling in like 120 fans.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's more of a passion project for them as opposed to a business. But I think some wrestlers and some promoters maybe are more concerned with like the image of them than the actual what to do, if that makes sense. Which I get to an extent, because wrestling, it's all work. Like, most people in wrestling, I would imagine, get into wrestling because they want to wrestle for WWE. Maybe now it's AEW, because you'll have like a generation of fans or TNA. Like, I know Leon Slater has said in interviews, like, he grew up as a TNA kid, because if you don't have Sky, TNA is kind of what you could watch. If you don't have Sky Sports, sorry. So there will be exceptions to that, but I would imagine most people getting into wrestling, it's because they want to get to like a WWE or an AEW, a TNA, whatever. There's not many people getting into wrestling, I don't think, who just want to wrestle on a weekend. Maybe that's the position they end up in. Like, I wrestle on a weekend, but it's not why I got into wrestling. I got into wrestling because obviously you have those dreams, you have those aspirations of like a bigger level of success. And I think it's the same with any aspect of your life. Like, no one goes to uni to come out of it and earn like minimum wage. No one goes to get a qualification in whatever they're doing to just, you know, not use that like at the end of it. So I think we have those aspirations to kind of get to where we want to be. And a part of that with wrestling is like, yeah, you want to kind of put content out online. You want to help create a bit of buzz for you, because that leads to more bookings, it leads to getting busier again. But there's other wrestlers, like I say, I'll use like the All-Star group as an example. They'll be working hundreds of shows, hundreds of matches over the course of a year. Just kind of getting the heads down, grafting, putting on those shows, and on the online world doesn't know they exist.
It's crazy. It's just but then eventually they do kind of want to break out. They do kind of want to, like I say, I've talked to the Trailblazers. You know, they've formed the tag team now. They're looking to get out and about. They want to start working. I think, like you sort of said, they want the best of both worlds, which they should have. You know, they want to win the holiday camps, but they want to be on Rev Pro. They want to be on Progress. They want to be on North. They want to be ICW.
The ideal position to be in, because you're going to then work like different crowds, different audiences, get lots of reps in. Like, I've worked Butlins runs before, like I say, with NGW, with Kick Out Wrestling, working Butlins where again you're working in front of like 1,000+ people, families and crowd, and I'll go and work at North in front of 300 people, adults, all pissed up. It's a completely different style, different audience that you want. But again, it's like, and it's having the best of both worlds, being able to experience both aspects of that, because the fans are very different, the performance aspect is very different. So it just makes you a more versatile performer. And obviously, like, the more shows you can do, if you can have your foot in on indie shows, if you can have your foot in on like the camp shows and things like that, the town hall shows, you're getting more experience. And some of the best workers have done that. Like Rampage is someone who's done that. Screwface Ahmed, when he was still wrestling, he did that.
Martin Kirby.
The
Martin Kirby's another one.
Martin Kirby's done it. There's so many guys like that. Like, so Gabe Kidd, look at what Gabe Kidd's doing now. He worked for so long doing Butlins. So I think it's good to have like that mix of the two.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Dude, I've just clocked the time. Sorry, mate. I said I'll keep you for about an hour, which I think we're coming up to. Well, we mentioned WWE a few times now, so I'd be amiss if I didn't sort of just mention this. I'll use this as kind of like the closing thing. Yeah. Obviously, when there was over last year, again, I've got to speak to Riley Nova recently, and he was part of the SmackDown show. And obviously, you were there as well, But again, as a fan, I don't know how that works. I don't know if they come over, if they approach people, or if it's just a credibility thing, or, if they're just looking for the top guys in the country.
I don't know what the exact criteria is, but it's basically you get like an invite. There's a member of staff from WWE. They have like a database, or they must be aware of, X number of. There must be some kind of database they've got. And then when I've been invited there, I think 3 times I've worked with them now. It was on telly, only made TV once though. The other 2 times there was like nothing for the extra guys to do. But yeah, it's just you get invited by WWE, and then obviously if you can do it, you go and do it. But the exact selection criteria, I'm not sure what that is.
But when you're getting picked to be security at a WWE show, you look the part. You're stood there, and it's kind of like, we need somebody who can believably pull these guys apart if needs be. Shit, yeah, of course we want Shreddy. Yeah, let's get this.
Yeah, it's worked out quite well because, I pitched kind of almost running it as a gimmick at North, because I started with North as security. I've done WWE security. I've done AEW security. So yeah, maybe just like when the in-ring stuff's done, maybe I can fall back on being a security guard in wrestling.
Of course, AEW as well. Yeah, so I mean that's what I mean. It's just these big companies are coming over. These, like what I said, companies that people will aspire to. When they're over here, you're getting a chance to work, and you're getting a chance to be part of that machine. Like you sort of said, you're all on the same ladder at various different parts of the ladder, but it's the same ladder, it's the same journey, it's the same.
Kind of being on the radar, which is obviously like for so many years, I just felt like, how do I even get noticed by WWE? How do I get them to know that I exist? And obviously now they do know that I exist. So again, that feels like a bit of a step forward.
Another box tick, dude. Mate, that's just, like I say, it's just mind blowing. And obviously, just put things out into the universe. Fingers crossed. We don't know. Obviously, hopefully, next time they're back over, you'll get a chance to be in the ring, or you'll be there again. It's just a learning experience. I can only imagine, just being around something that size, that big.
Yeah,
is just, you don't come away from it not having learned something.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's a good environment to be around. It's where ultimately I want to be. The only way I'll get there is if I keep on going. I might not get there. Hopefully I do. But the only way to get there is to keep going and keep doing this. Because if I quit now, it's never going to happen. So just keep on going.
Dude, mate, honestly, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure just to sit down and, like I say, just have a chat, just talk things. Hopefully you can kind of be like, yeah, you know what? I'm very happy with what I've done so far. I had a bit of nostalgia, a bit of reminiscing, a lot of the good stuff. But mate, honestly, thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been good being on.
Dude, do you want to let people know where they can hit you up on the socials?
Yeah, so Instagram is where I'm most active on. I do have a TikTok. I'll post there once in a blue moon and then come off. I don't scroll through TikTok. Twitter, I think, is dead. So again, I'll post there once in a blue moon, come off. But Instagram, Shreddy Breck Gym. YouTube, I think it's Shreddy Breck just on YouTube. But I'm trying to be a bit more active on YouTube at the minute. Got a couple of different kinds of content put in there. So I've got Pokemon cards, I've got wrestling, bodybuilding. But yeah, they're the best 2 places to find me and follow me, Instagram and YouTube.
Obviously, my boy Ash will tag Shreddy on Insta when this episode gets uploaded. So please give him a follow. If you're not, I'm sure you are already. You wouldn't be watching this if you're not a fan of the Jakked Stakked Daddy himself. But if you're not, for any reason, hit follow. Obviously, you know who we are, so hit like, subscribe, share, comment, all the generic stuff that we ask you to do. And obviously we'll be back next week. We are back on Monday to review the wrestling in Newcastle Rumble on Saturday. So there'll be myself, Mick, and Mr. Baker. We'll just be gushing with excitement and praises for everybody. We'll
get you on the Shreddy. I'll know that we're vlogging the day, so we'll get you on the Shreddy Break YouTube vlog.
Dude, that'd be amazing. But yeah, keep you guys peeled. Obviously, I was going to say, normally I have to say to people, if I don't see you, just say hi to me because my eyesight's really shocking. I can't really say that to you, dude, because you're so fucking stacked. I can't miss you. You'd be like, yeah, that's ready. I can see him from 10 miles away. There he is. Obviously, we've got George Hunter on as well next week. So I'm excited for next week. Yeah. So thank you for watching. And remember, always work the left side. Goodbye.